Wow, I just realized that my mic was muted that whole time. Um, Anyways, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got episode 4 of the the Open Matt Show. Um, as always, I am your host, Matt. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about all the latest news in UFC, such as Volkanovski and where does he rank amongst the goats of featherweight and goats of the sport in general. We're going to be talking about Zuffa Boxing. We're going to be talking about the state of Paramount Plus and UFC, their production and how it's looking. Talking about drama with John Jones, John Silva, Roofy, a little bit of everything. So thanks for tuning in. And yeah, let's get right into it. Uh, The first thing I wanna talk about is sorry for not having a show last week for, my OG fans. Honestly, I just got a little bit lazy. I had slept in all day, and by the time I woke up, I didn't have any time to set anything up, so I figured, why do a half-ass show if it's not gonna be, any good or anything like that? Um, I did say I was gonna upload a pick video for UFC 324. I never got around to that either. Again, I was just being lazy, but, honestly, all my picks were right. I just kinda went with the grain, except for the main event. I had actually picked Lopez to beat Volkanovski, um, which you gotta hear me out on that. Volk is probably, like, my favorite fighter ever. I think he's one of the greatest to ever do martial arts. I feel like he beat Islam that first fight. I feel like if he didn't take the second fight on short notice, he would beat Islam. Um, but whatever, we're past that. We're beyond that now. We've moved on. Um But I gotta be honest, I was kinda buying into the narrative that, he's 38 years old, getting a little bit older, getting a little bit slower. He's got his cooking with Volk thing going on, money coming in from all these different places. He doesn't really need fighting anymore, right? And that's kind of the vibe I was getting, especially when he came out with the little apron on and all that. It really gave off the same vibe, uh that was given off during the Ilya fight, before the Ilya fight. He had a gimmick, came in with a gimmick, marketing all in a good mood, like, Imma whoop this guy, and then we know how that ended. So, that's kind of what I thought was gonna happen during, UFC 324. I know Volk is objectively better than Diego Lopez literally everywhere, I know that. Um, it's just the fact that, Lopez's power, and like I said, Volk, I feel like, is getting a little bit older. Um, I've said this a lot. Ilya and power punches in general are a pretty bad matchup for Volk, especially when he gets near the cage. I think Volk is a lot better than Ilya. I do. That might be a little ludicrous to say considering how their fight ended. And personally, I think that fight would end that way regardless. I think Ilya is just better than Volk. Fuck. I that might have been a Freudian slip. I don't actually think that. Maybe that might be the case, but I think Volk is actually better than Ilya. That's what I meant. Oh my goodness, I am fumbling over my words. It has been a whole week or 2 weeks since I've been on live here, so cut me some slack. Anyways, um, yeah, weirdly enough, I think Volk is a lot better than Ilya, but I think Ilya colds him every time. That's because Ilya is just a bad matchup for Volk. Volk, when he gets up against the cage, he kinda folds up a little bit Philly shell and likes to try to see if he could, bang his way out of there, which he's a really good striker. He's struck with the best of them, so I don't blame him for thinking that. But the issue is his defense, striking defense, is very dependent on his speed and timing, and when that fails the tiniest bit, it leaves him very susceptible. And we see it in the Lopez fight a lot. When Lopez caught him in the first and second fight, Volk was moving on the way out. And yeah, Volk recovered really fast in both cases, but when you put that against one punch KO power, death touch power, we see the result. Um, but again, like I said, I think Volk is a lot better than Ilya. I do. Uh, Even as a striker, weirdly enough. I think Volk's career is obviously a lot better than Ilya's, I would say. Yeah, Ilya knocked out Max and all that, but, I do think there is some merit to the idea that Max was a little bit drained. He had just went up to 155, then came back down. I do agree with that. Although, again, I do feel like Ilya beats Max regardless. See, I think Ilya is better than Max. I think he has better skills than Max, but I don't think he has better skills than Volkanovski. Um, if, as an example or a prediction, I should say maybe. If Ilya and Islam were to fight, I think Islam smokes Ilya 155, 170. Maybe at 155, Ilya has a puncher's chance, but I really feel like Islam just dominates Ilya and gets him out of there. I don't think I don't think Islam could do that to Volk. I mean, he did, I guess, on the short notice fight, he did, but I don't. That was a fluke in my opinion. Like I said, I'm a bit of a Volt Glazer here. That might have been a fluke. I think it was the short notice and all that. But Islam's not going to land a fluke like that at Ilya. He's going to take Ilya down and just Darce choke his ass. Um, that would never happen to Volk. Islam tried to do that to Volk and it didn't work. Um, Volk's style, I feel like, is just so much more versatile, and I can't even say that it transcends weight classes better because Ilya's skill set actually transcended weight classes, and he won a belt in 2 weight classes. So I guess that argument by me is kind of moot, but I truly do believe that. I truly do. Um, Volk just seems like the better fighter, in my opinion. He's more skilled in all areas, but this is MMA. And yeah, you have to mix some martial arts, but more importantly, over all of that, you have to win. And knockout power is the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't matter how good you are. You have to be perfect. What does Deontay Wilder say? You have to be perfect for 30 minutes. I just need to be perfect for one. Um, that we saw with Ngannou. We're seeing it with Atiba Gautier, although he kind of got put through it with Pelaev. Um, if you have that power, that puts you above a lot of other people. But I'm kinda getting besides the point. What I wanted to really talk about is Volkanovski's GOAT status. Specifically, we're gonna be talking about his featherweight GOAT status. I feel like there's a lot of argument to have him higher on the actual, like, GOAT list of all time. Yes, he got knocked out twice. Um, but honestly, I feel like people are really, like, putting too much weight into that. Silva got knocked out a few times. Silva went through life and death with Chael fucking Sonnen. But we still have him up there, right? Islam got knocked out. We still have him up there. Yeah, obviously his knockouts are a little bit different than Volk's, but still, I just think that's silly to completely count him out because of that. And, you know, there's an argument he needs to go on a little bit of a run before we put him back up there. And I guess I agree with that. If he were to beat Lerone and a Movsar, one or the other would be fine. But if he were to somehow beat both, I think it would be undeniable that he'd be a top 3 of all time. Um, but truly, I think he's the best. I've been seeing a lot of arguments online about him versus Aldo, who's the greatest for 145. The big thing is that if you count Aldo's WEC titles, he has a lot more than Volk. But I saw an Ariel show. They did a fun little tit for tat thing. They looked at their records. So I would like to look at their records and compare them. And yeah, listen, Aldo was great. He was a legend and all that, but come on, guys. You cannot compare uh you cannot compare these records. Let me get this pulled up here. Um let me see. Let's see their records. Let's see their records. Come on. Oh, why can't I find it? Why can't I find it? What the hell? Why am I having trouble finding it? Okay, whatever. I'll just pull up UFC fight stats. But anyways, I'm pretty sure Jose Aldo, 2 of his wins are against Uriah Faber. I mean, come on. 2 wins over Uriah Faber versus 3 wins over Max Holloway, right? But, you know, maybe I'm selling it short. Let me take a look at it. Alright, here we go. Let's look at Aldo's legendary run. Let's say that's under the WEC. Here we go, UFC. Mark Hominick, Kenny Florian, Chad Mendez, Frankie Edgar, Chin Sung Jung. That's good. Ricardo Lamas, Chad Mendez again. Then he lost to McGregor. Right. So that's a solid run. But I feel like when you look at Volkanovski's, it really elapses it. Jeremy Kennedy. I actually have a signed Jeremy Kennedy card. Hold up. Hold on. Let me find it. Hold on. Hold on. Shits. I hope I have it pulled up. Or have it ready. I don't have it ready. I've been getting into cards lately, guys. I've been getting into cards. I'm kind of getting distracted here. But yeah, I've been getting into these cards. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. I got a signed. Tell me what you guys think of this. I got a signed Jeremy Kennedy. Not too shabby. Not too shabby if you ask me. Um, I also have another numbered Sadabo Sai. That's pretty solid too. I got a numbered Roy Nelson, and I believe a numbered, yeah, I got a numbered Roy Nelson and a numbered Chris Cyborg. Not too shabby. Um, that's from a PFL contender box. I don't know if you guys, oh shit. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these before in the store, but they make, yeah, here, let me put this up. They make PFL blaster box. Oh shit. Whatever. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. So I had to buy it for the one time. I was hoping to get like a signed Ngannou or something. Obviously, it didn't work out. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, Volk beat Jeremy Kennedy. Now, because here we go. Chad Mendez, Jose Aldo, Max Holloway twice, Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie, Max Holloway again. Then the loss to Islam, which in my opinion he won that. But I'm not mad at it. I wouldn't say it's a robbery, although I agree with like Chael's take. Um, who gives a fuck? You give it to the guy. It's his hometown. You got to give him the fucking you got to give him the nod. I don't get how you don't do that. Um shoot, sorry guys. Someone's calling me. Let me make sure. There you go. All right. Anyways, as I was saying, uh yeah, yeah. So he lost to Islam. I think that L is greater than a lot of W's than a lot of people have truly. But anyways, after that he beat Yair. Um then he loses to Islam. Then he loses to Ilya. And then he beats Lopez twice. So that's a pretty solid record. I have to put it above Aldo just because the Holloway wins in beating Aldo himself um, should put you above him. And that's kind of the awkward thing that people don't bring up in these debates. Aldo versus Volk, blah, blah, blah. They fucking fought. And it was pillar to post for Volk. Same thing when he fought Max Holloway, pillar to post for Max Holloway. And that just goes to show um, just how the sport evolves as time goes on, right? Uh, yeah, it just is what it is. Listen, you can respect the old dogs while also not diminishing the achievements of the modern guys, and it just is what it is, right? I would, yeah, I would say Volk is the greatest featherweight of all time. Although I think the argument is still there to be made. It's there's still an argument to be had. However, if he were to beat Movzar or Murphy or somehow both, it's solidified. It will absolutely be him because that would mean his run spanned over the course of generations. I mean, beating Jeremy Kennedy, Chad Mendes, Aldo Holloway, Ortega, Yair, Lopez. If you're to get Murphy and Movzar, that's a legendary record right there, in my opinion. Um, and truly, Volk is obviously very much appreciated now, but when he is gone, we are gonna absolutely fucking miss him. Um, the way he's active, the way he feels a obligation to keep the belt moving, to keep the young contenders in the picture. It's truly inspirational stuff. Adversity is a privilege, and I'll always be a fan of Volk. Truly, truly, even when he is boxing Jake Paul in like 10 years. Anyways, I kind of want to move on and talk about Paramount Plus and just how their production has been going. I think it's been going very, very good. Shit, I'm really talking loud. I think it's been going very, very good in my opinion. Clearly, they listen to the fans. Uh, UFC 323's program was I think 3 hours and 30 minutes, whereas UFC 324 was only 2 hours and 30 minutes, despite having I think two to three more fights. So obviously they listened to the fans. They saw what's the point? They saw us saying, "What's the point if you guys are going to start it an hour early if you're just going to end it normal time anyways, right?" Luckily, they listened, and I would say the biggest thing that people were complaining about were the ads. They cut out walkouts, they cut out corner work, all the things that keep us invested in MMA. At least for me, when I'm watching a fight, especially if it's guys on the prelims that I don't know, I need that corner work. The walkout, I don't really care so much for. Once you get to the prelims, I think you have to show them. It's a little crazy not to, in my opinion. But when you cut out the corner work, that's just cutting out an essential part of the fights. Truly, a truly essential part of the fights. Um, like I said, if you're watching two guys, you don't know who they are. and, one of them's losing, you wanna hear that corner work, you wanna hear how the corners hype them up. There's a lot of legendary moments from corner work. Obviously, Leon's, pulling out the fire, that's a big one. The classic Pereira, uh, them telling me, "You need to knock him out of the 5th," and him just nodding yes. I'm probably forgetting a lot more. There's there's a lot of, one that's coming to mind is DDP when he's fighting against Hamza, telling his coaches, I got him," even though we knew he didn't have him. Uh, for them to cut that out, that was just like cutting the balls off of the storytelling of the sport. And like I said, obviously they listened. They kept every single corner work in. They just put that L bar with the ads. And yeah, the ads suck, but Dana White said it himself. It seems like everybody's in agreement with this. We're paying $8.99 a month now. What is it, $13.99 a month now? That's about, I don't know, maybe like $100 a year for every UFC event, all of UFC's content. We can handle a few ads. And if I'm being honest, guys, every other sport has fucking ads like that. And that's something that the UFC had over a lot of other sports. There weren't ads the way there are with like football, basketball, things like that. Yes, albeit football and basketball are more designed to have ads around it and in it. UFC isn't designed for that. But this was inevitable. With the commercialization of the sport and putting the sport more into the mainstream, things like this were gonna happen. And like Dana said, we're paying $8.99 a month now. These guys gotta make their money somehow, right? They just invested 7.7 billion into the UFC. They gotta recoup that in some way. So I'm happy with it. I'm not mad at the L bar. I think it's enough. Dare I say it adds almost like a level of legitimacy to the UFC. Like, huh, there are ads here. Not a fan of the poly market. Not a fan of that stuff. But I like to open cards. So, how much better am I than those guys? Anyways, let me see here. I just think it's a lot better. Something else that they're doing very good is their promos. I don't know if you guys saw. I spent like an hour yesterday looking for these promos, but they were playing a bunch of promos for the BMF fight, Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway during the broadcast. Holy fucking shit. I was creaming my pants. I was so excited about it. Um that's something we've been complaining about as fans for a long, long, long fucking time. Um, we want, good promos the way they used to be. But the thing is though, this is what I was telling a lot of people. I said, "I feel like ESPN isn't incentivized to do that." Yes, it's pay-per-view and all that, but the way that ESPN was acting was, "This is the UFC's job to sell it. This isn't our job to sell it. This is the UFC's job." And because of that, I feel like, it suffered. Um, we got the lame posters, everything like that. But even the BMF poster for this upcoming fight, Oliveira Holloway, is really, really good. Like here, you know what? Let me see if I can pull it up here. But anyways, there was a badass 15-second promo that played. It started. Let me set the scene. It's like a desert. You hear horses galloping, and I think it starts off by showing the front horses. Then the camera slowly zooms out, and you see Oliveira in his horse cart, his racing horses. As we know, he likes to race horses, and he was in there just riding it, like going ham. Then the screen cuts to black with what was the date? 3/4/2026, the BMF fight date with the name Oliveira there. Those being see-through mask, and you could still see the horses running through that. It was a short 15 seconds. Oliveira didn't say anything. There was no music, nothing. It's just a little teaser trailer, but it felt like a fucking movie. And that little teaser was better than anything, probably better than any promo that the UFC had done during their ESPN era. Truly. Um, Also, right, hell, during the Paddy Gaethje fight, they did a cool little Blink 182 trailer like that. Obviously, that was Paddy leaning. Um, but pretty much what I'm getting at here is I think we're in really good hands. I was telling so many people too, and everybody was doubting it. I was telling so many people, guys, Paramount just spent 7.7 billion fucking dollars on the UFC. You think they're just gonna you think they're not gonna elevate it? They're not gonna try to, cram in all these cinematic trailers in the midst of NFL games, NBA games, fucking Survivor, things like that. CBS, Paramount, they own a lot, guys. Um, Hell, you know what? If they brought back iCarly, they could do a proper iCarly uh, UFC MMA episode. But anyways, uh, pretty much we're just in good hands, and I am very, very excited to see where we go. If I remember correctly, too, I saw another promo, very similar format. It's Max Holloway standing on a cliff in Hawaii, looking over to the ocean. You hear the waves crashing. Then it cuts to black, and you just see Blessed and the same date, 3/4/26. Um, I'm telling you guys, I just got geeked for it. Uh, like yeah, like I said, I'm just so excited that we're getting promos like this again. I don't think we'll ever get those, like, movie-esque promos like McGregor Aldo and, like, The Ring slash Turkey Ali Sheik was doing for his fights. It's just a lot of money, maybe for the big super fights, like a Jones Pereira, Jones Aspinall, McGregor return, things like that. But if we're getting badass promos like that for what I would call a upper mid-level fight, I would say Oliveira Holloway. That might be ludicrous to say. Yes, they're very big, amongst the MMA community, Oliveira as well, but if you were to ask, like, a true casual that doesn't watch MMA at all aside from, the real big events like, Aspinall or John Jones or McGregor, they might know who Oliveira is. They probably won't know who Max Holloway is. Um, again, this is my anecdotal experience. My buddies that aren't into MMA or UFC at all, they don't know a Max Holloway. They kind of know of an Oliveira because of me. But quite frankly, if they're not like an English speaking fighter, a lot of American casuals, which is won't know that. Which, again, as we know, America is probably the biggest. Well, I don't know anymore now that pay-per-views aren't a thing, but, we knew for a while it was the biggest pay-per-view market. I would imagine that carries over to streaming to some degree. Consumerism is ridiculous over here, as it is everywhere, but very crazy here. Um, so who knows? Sorry, I completely started, rambling, getting off my, train of thought there. Um, but yeah, I'm just very excited to see where Paramount goes. I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do with this, White House card. Um, Dana said they were gonna have it figured out immediately after UFC 323, or they were gonna get in the room and start banging things out. I'm very curious what's up there. I would say Gaethje versus Ilya is kind of a gimme. I mean, you have an American with a belt that could possibly fight the biggest star in the sport. Um, it seems like a gimme. I don't know who else they could do at this, right, other than John Jones. What did you think about Diego performance, though? I'm a little late, LMAO. No worries, D 2 times 227. I weirdly enough, I think Diego did better, but he didn't do anything different. Um, I truly believed he was gonna go out of there like a bat out of hell. Since he missed it, I'll just sum up, what I thought. I actually had Lopez winning. Now, I think Volk is better than Lopez literally everywhere, in every way, every conceivable way possible. Lopez or Volk is a lot better. I just truly felt like Lopez understood the situation here. His last shot at the belt, as long as Volk is here, uh, fucking blitz him, spam him with overhands while he's against the cage, and catch him with something, right? Lopez didn't do that. Volk did a very good job punishing Lopez this time around, but Lopez really didn't. He really didn't follow up. He didn't come in with anything. He was just fucking running in there butt ass naked, spamming overhands, and it was just ugly, very ugly by him. He did catch Volk again, but it was even a less significant drop than it was in the first fight. So weirdly enough, I feel like he did better this time around. His timing was a little bit better, um, but he still lost pillar to post. He lost even more clearly, in my opinion. Everybody's scared of Taporia. Who would you think would be a good matchup? Okay, actually, I had thought this is so like crazy to say. I feel so dumb. I had thought Paddy would have been a good match. Obviously, Armand, but like he's not going to get the shot soon. Clearly, I thought Paddy would be truly. Now, I thought Paddy was a lot better than what he fucking was. Like turns out he wasn't that good at all. Uh, I just thought Paddy was like height, reach, his jujitsu skills. Um, his chin compared against Ilya's, stature. I just truly thought, like, if Paddy wanted, he could just throw his legs up or something or catch Ilya into, like, a flute guillotine or so that's what I saw happening, but, Paddy kinda sucks. Um, So as for 155, honestly, I'm not sure. I feel like a prime Dustin Poirier would have gave Ilya a lot of problems just because he's a pretty solid boxer with pretty decent slick defense. He makes people pay for when they stand in the pocket with him. But I mean, who knows? Ilya could maybe wrestle fuck a Poirier. Yeah, Paddy absolutely fucking sold. He really, really did. I mean, he had everything going for him, dude. He had uh, that Meta sponsorship. I keep getting the commercials for him. I was just seeing him everywhere. He like the UFC was clearly teeing him up to be their fucking guy. Him v. Ilya at the White House. Who gives a fuck about bringing an American if you get those two there? You get a natural beef, um, a truly natural grown beef, not forced at all. But he really fucked it up. Ilya pretty much called it out. He said, "You fumbled the bag, bro. You fumbled the biggest bag you're gonna get." Now, Paddy can still bounce back. He still can, um, but he's walking a very very thin line that I would say greater fighters have not been able to walk. Um, Hell, you could say Sean O'Malley was there too. Once he lost to Marab, he kind of lost the plot, you could say. He seemed disinterested. So hopefully we don't see that from Paddy. I know a lot of people hate Paddy. I like him. I think he brings an interesting vibe to the sport. You know, I like his trash talk and all that. And I don't think he's that bad. I think he's solid. Truly, I feel like people were that are saying he was fraud checked and that he's garbage. That's not necessarily true. You know, I was just saying he sucks. Obviously, we know he's pretty solid. He did have some good fights with Gaethje, but yeah, like you said, that was a once in a lifetime paycheck and clout. Once in a lifetime. He could go on a crazy run now. It won't be the same. The story will never be the same. Um, Hell, they kept calling him undefeated, even though he wasn't undefeated. They kept calling him undefeated. They were really banking on him to win to fight Ilya. That would have been huge, but yeah, he just fucked it up. Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not the best. I saw he called out BSD. If I'm being honest, I don't want to see that. I think the clear fight is Dan Hooker. I mean, yeah, I would say that's almost like a gimme. That's a good bounce back for Paddy Pimblett. Put him up against Dan Hooker. Um, if he could get that victory, then he'll be good. But that's the issue. There is like normally, if he asked me before he fought Gaethje, oh yeah, Paddy smokes Hooker. But after that, I don't know if he beats Hooker. I truly don't. If Hooker can stop the takedown, which we didn't see any of that skill from Paddy, um, Hooker could easily mangle Paddy up. I mean, I thought Paddy was a lot better than that, and it really begs the question: just how ass is Michael Chandler right now? Um, yeah. See, okay, I get it. A lot of people aren't fans of Bisping's commentary. This is okay, this is, like, probably my hottest take. I'm a big fan of Bisping, at times. I don't like him and DC together. Both of them are very argumentative, and they don't like talking with other people clearly. So when you put them with each other, it's very bad. Uh, you know, you have DC saying petty remarks, and you have Bisping, calling it out, and it gets pretty awkward. But I kinda like Bisping. I mean, they get annoying, especially really early on the early prelims, there or prelims, you know, there's a really good fight. These guys are fucking exchanging years of their life with each other, and you have Bisping over there arguing with Daniel Cormier about the takedown or some shit like that. Um, but I wouldn't say I don't think he's boring. I would say actually I think that's what he does best. I think he does a good job of, being somewhat entertaining to a degree, but, like, you know, you could argue that's not your job, bro. You're not doing a reaction channel here. Your job is to fucking talk about what you're seeing. And you know, sometimes he doesn't do the best with that. I agree with that. Uh, but I gotta say, I would take UFC commentating over boxing commentating any fucking way, any day. Um, I don't know if you heard Max Kellerman lately, or just boxing commentary in general. Zuffa, I'm referring to specifically, but this applies to all of boxing commentary. It's just fucking awful. I mean, like every single time I watch any boxing match, it is just awful. Um, I mean, you have the Max Kellerman glaze, but even before he started doing that, I just feel like the commentators were always shit talking the fighters. Weirdly enough, like a lot of the times they're former fighters themselves, so I don't know. It's really weird. They'll talk very condescending to the boxers, and I'm just not a fan of it. Not to say that UFC and MMA commentating is necessarily better. Um, both are, I would say, equally unprofessional, just in two different ways. I prefer the MMA commentary though. It's easier to kind of tune out, and it's easier to. It adds to the fight. I would say, like the yeah, a lot of people hate Rogan and DC, how casual or whatever, but you know, the "Oh, he's out!" That's classic. That is absolutely classic. Like, I love hearing that. That gets me riled up. Boxing, they're just flat all the time. They don't really, bring that excitement too much. Um, DC and Joe Rogan is a way to go, but only for big ass cards. So I agree. I agree. Uh, I'm alright with DC. I will say I think DC is clearly biased. He doesn't do a good job of hiding it in his voice. He can say all the right things. He can say all the right things, but like you could just hear the true like urgency and care in his voice that he has for certain guys. And like okay, I think it was the Batista fight when it was fighting Umar or someone was fighting Umar. Umar takes the guys down, and then like you just hear DC, he's not doing a good. Like he's shit talking the guy, but he's telling what's happening, but you could tell he takes a certain joy in saying that. I would say that's DC's biggest issue. Hell, there are even times where he's talking, commentating to fight for his guy, and he's going too hard against him, and I can tell he's over trying to overcompensate for it, his bias. But you can just hear it in the voice, and that bugs me sometimes, especially if it's against a fighter I like. Then I get really fucking salty. Um, but I can't get too mad at it. I can't get too mad at it. Um, I would say the most egregious example of it was maybe Ilya v. Oliveira. I would say that was probably the worst time, at least in recent memory of the UFC commentating. They just seem so disinterested, and like I feel like if it were any other time when Ilya knocked out Oliveira, they would have went crazy like ah! But they were just so flat that time. I don't know why. Um, the whole time, right? Oliveira's absorbing the shots a lot better, and blah blah blah. Um, I mean, it probably caught them off guard, but, I was a little disappointed with that commentary, but normally I don't really have a problem with them, honestly. Normally I don't. DC has no but he really doesn't. He really doesn't. I mean, if you're the two-time light heavyweight champ, uh, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of situations probably where you feel like you need a filter where you're worried of the consequences and stuff. Yeah, there's professionalism in careers, but again, kind of as a two-time champ and an analyst, that just gives him some job security. Volk versus Jan? What the hell? I'm assuming you mean Marab versus Jan? 'Cause I would agree with that. I would agree with that. That's pretty solid. Uh, yeah, they are very, 50-50 on it. Um, but I'm not like I said, I'm not really, like, too focused on the commentary, but I would say most of the time for me, it adds to the viewing experience. There are a lot of times, though, where you really need to, like, tune them out because they're just saying something different, but it kinda adds to the fun of it, in my opinion. Like, you're sitting there like, "What the fuck are you seeing?" Um, it really adds to the fun of it, but it gets really annoying and suspicious when when the judges agree with them and the viewer saw something different completely. That's when I kinda, start to feel a certain way about it, uh, but yeah, again, like I said, the commentary is never enough to really, ruin it for me. It would have to be really bad commentary, really, really bad commentary for me to, not wanna watch it. I would say the worst commentary I've ever seen, it's not UFC, but, this is kind of a throwback. Ben Askren versus Jake Paul on a Triller event. Um, it was, I think they brought in Oscar de la Coca. I go back to this clip often because it was one of the funniest things like I've ever seen. But it's when Oscar's just tweaking out. He's clearly high as shit on something. commentating, and even then, it was pretty entertaining. So, it takes a pretty much boxing commentary is for me is like the lowest bar, what I deem acceptable commentary. Marab, okay, I figured you meant Marab. I figured you meant Marab. WWE, man, actually, you know what? You're right. I would be lying if I said I was a fan of, like, WWE now. I haven't tuned in. Naturally, it comes across my feed all the time just being in combat sports since it's classified as a combat sport. So, especially with the return of John Cena, I was kinda keeping tabs on it, and I still kind of am, um, but from when I was into it, yeah, absolutely, I can agree, and you know what? That's kind of the vibe the UFC commentary gives off, like, the commentators are characters themselves. They have almost narratives, dare I say. Michael Cole, his reactions, things like that. Jerry the King Lawler, Booker T. Those are the commentators when I was watching. Um, and yeah, like they weren't really like purely analytical. They were more kind of telling a story almost, just kind of describing what they saw. Um, yeah, you always need one straight man to tell what's going on, which I think WWE had Michael Cole and UFC has John Anik, obviously. But yeah, I'm fine with just one serious guy and give me two silly former competitors themselves, and I think that's like a really good dynamic because it's not necessarily football or basketball where you have time to stop and do play by plays, replays, and all that. Yeah, fighting is just go 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 go. So yeah, I say I'm fine with that. Boxing needs Paul Heyman. Yeah, actually, yeah. You know, it's so cool to see Paul Heyman still going in this day and age because again, when I was watching WWE, he was Brock Lesnar's guy. That's what I remember when Brock Lesnar didn't speak or anything. He was like Brock Lesnar, and it wasn't until I really kind of started getting more into MMA and got older, started watching Ariel and all that, I started hearing more about Paul Heyman, just how he was in the business and everything like that, and how much he truly helped. And yeah, right now, boxing could use a Paul Heyman. My opinion, I mean, I guess maybe not now because we have Zuffa, but yeah, boxing is in a rough place. I was arguing with a buddy about this who's a boxing fan. Um, I told him boxing had the biggest fall off of probably any sport ever. Maybe like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you go on the streets in New York, whoever, who's a heavyweight champ? Who's a heavyweight champ? People would tell you, Ali, Foreman. Everyone knew about stuff like that. Nowadays, nobody knows what a quote unquote USIC is, right? Now, that's not necessarily the fault of USIC. It's not like the UFC where, these guys, they got to sell themselves and all that. Although they should, uh, it's just boxing is a lot harder to follow than what it used to be. There aren't really that many interesting storylines anymore. Yeah, yeah, actually, you're right. Fall off since Mayweather times. Yep, that is exactly correct. When I was younger, and in school, I remember everybody's making a big deal about Mayweather and McGregor. Everybody's making a big deal about it. I didn't really know the two. I knew Mayweather. I knew of McGregor. Like I knew of them, but um, it was just such a big fight. It transcended fighting. Like just everybody was talking about it. There hasn't been a boxing fight like that in a long, long time. And you could argue where there hasn't been an MMA fight like that ever. But well, that's true. But boxing has had like a what is it like 100-year head start on MMA. And you're right. Nobody has come to claim the throne to carry the sport the way Mayweather has. Yeah, you could maybe say Canelo. I would say Canelo is the closest, but he's more for the Mexican audience. Yeah, he's big. Everyone knows Canelo. That is true. Everyone does know Canelo, at least here in the US, I would say. Um, but in terms of selling pay-per-view and um, things like that, Canelo brings in the Mexican audience, which is huge. But once you put him over in Riyadh and out of the US, out of the reach of the Mexicans, it's kind of like shooting a blank. There's no point in doing it. Conor versus Mayweather wasn't as bad as I thought. LMAO. Yeah, you know what? It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I remember the press conference and all that. Those were really good. Crawford owns Canelo. I do agree. I do agree. Crawford owns Canelo. I had Crawford beating him actually. And, a lot of people say Canelo was older or whatever, is a little bit slow. I do agree. Canelo did look a little bit slower. It probably just would have been slightly more competitive if he were a little bit quicker, but Crawford is just a better boxer. Canelo was never really the slick boxer kind of guy. He was a good Mexican boxer. He came in, oosh, oosh, really turned his body for the uppercuts and stuff like that. Um, but he needed to be a lot more slick and a lot more strategic to go against a guy like Crawford. And Crawford was just way too quick and slick for him. It was really crazy to watch. Um, I thought Crawford was going to win, but not like that. I didn't think Crawford was going to win it like that. It was like really hard, like hard to see because I'm a big fan of Canelo, but like he looked older. I would say like that was hard, but also again, straight up, watching that fight made you realize there was nothing Canelo probably could have done to win that fight. Um, and I mean, yeah, it was just crazy to see. It's unfortunate Crawford is quote unquote retired. In my opinion, I don't think he's actually retired. I think he will come back, but I think he'll come back for Zuffa slash the ring. He retired all the WBC belt commission belts. He had an issue with them. I think this is a ripe opportunity for Dana Turkey to go in there and offer him a contract. Hey, bro, the one belt. Nobody's gonna be charging any fees, nothing like that. It's all you. I think that'll be enough to bring Crawford back. As for who he's gonna fight, maybe Boots. They could run back a Canelo rematch. He signed with Turkey. I'm sure Turkey would do something with Zuffa, right? Um, I don't know. That's kind of the issue though there, I guess you could say. There's not really a lot of people left for Crawford to fight that's a big name, because where do you go after Canelo, right? There's not really any big names after that. Um, and again, that kinda goes to what we were talking about. Boxing had a big fall off. There's really no big characters like that anymore. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Because you have influencer boxing and things like this kind of elevating the sport as a whole. Maybe it's too watered down now. Um, and maybe it's all the belts and all the weight classes that could be an issue, but it's kind of somewhat always and it hasn't always been like that, but there's always been a fair amount of weight classes, fair amount of champions. So it might not be that. Um, I don't know. Overall, I just would say, uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We know what helped the UFC. They kept going during COVID. They were there when nobody else was. They were just a lot of people were bored scrolling their channels. You flip on ESPN. Oh, what the hell is this? Some fighting? Oh, watch that. And then you happen to see Ngannou starch Stipe's lights out, and suddenly you got that itch. Um, that's what MMA was able to capitalize on. Boxing hasn't had the closest thing boxing has had to that is straight up influencer boxing. Like honestly, a lot of people shit on it. I'm a fan of it personally. I don't mind it when they understand what they are, once they realize they're not too serious. Um, but that they don't. There's not hasn't really been anything that's been forcing boxing in front of the eyes of fans, other than Jake Paul. A lot of people have really been shitting on Jake Paul. A lot of people don't like to hear it, but I would truly say Jake Paul, influencer boxing, they've to a degree, they were carrying boxing as a sport for a while. Um, I mean, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, they fucking put boxing on Netflix. Nobody's gonna give them credit for that, but they fucking did that. Um, and now there's talks that Zuffa is gonna try to get Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua on Netflix. Um, they were the first, and they kind of changed that game. And maybe you could say that's what's put in boxing in front of fans, newer fans now. But boxing just doesn't. They don't do a good job of getting new fans, putting themselves out there. And it sucks, especially when you have a lot of young boxers. And Ryan Garcia does a pretty good job of it, right? But he went cuckoo. He lost his mind. We all know. So he's not going to get the big push. Um, Teofimo Lopez, same thing. He just lost to Shakur. You have Shakur. Shakur's all right. Gervonta Davis is under a fucking rest. Um, yeah, pretty much all the former big stars are kind of going through some shit right now, and there's a wide open gap right here for boxing, a wide open space for a big star to come up and take it. And if somebody could do that, then yeah, I mean they'll make a lot of fucking money. They will make a lot of fucking money. Um, Sorry to burp. Um, Something else I saw on the news today, though. Apparently, Nick Diaz is talking about coming back. He said he truly feels like he could be a 42-year-old champion. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I guess he's out of rehab or whatever. I hope the UFC doesn't let him fight again. I hope they never let him fight again. I hope they tell him, "Listen, dude, you're done." Um, maybe they'll give him a few easy paychecks or something like that. That would be nice. I think Dana likes the Diaz bros, especially now. Um, so who knows? I'll keep an eye on that. I don't really have much more to say about that, but yeah, I guess Nick Diaz is going to be coming back, guys. Nick Diaz is going to make his legendary return at 185 or 170. I don't see him cutting weight to 170. What did he fight Robbie Lawler at? I want to say that was 185. Um, yeah, yeah. I hope he doesn't come back. I hope Dana White literally tells him, "Dude, I'm not giving you a fucking fight." Um, oh my gosh, yeah. Speaking of not giving fights in the UFC, Patchy Mix, I guess, got fucking cut. Now he's back to Ryzen. I gotta be honest, I don't think they should have cut him. I mean, he looked like dog shit. He truly should not he really looked like he shouldn't have been in the UFC. But fuck it, man. Use that name. Feed him to a few other people. Patchy Mix, I mean, that's like a yeah, the name was losing aura and value, but I don't know, Patchy Mix. Like it just it has a ring to it, you know? That's something you could tell a casual. Oh, this up and comer, Peyton Talbot is fighting Patchy Mix. It'll make a casual wonder, Patchy Mix. I feel like I've heard that before, you know? But yeah, unironically, they should have kept Patchy Mix and fed him to like Peyton Talbot or Mario Batista or fuck, I don't know. I don't know who else. Yeah. Fucking Alexander Taporia. There's a lot of people they could have fed this guy to. Um, he's gonna be fighting Akamoto and Ryzen. Hopefully we see the bounce back Apache mix. I didn't really like seeing him going on the run that he did. It was honestly kind of depressing. Same vibe when Islam won the welterweight championship. We all knew everyone in the UFC is the best. We all knew the UFC, that's where the top talent goes. But you know, you have that hope. You have that just the storyline in you. The storyline enjoyer in you has the hope, oh, there's a legend in another organization who's gonna come over and beat everybody. That was supposed to be Pico and Mix. Life isn't a fairy tale, as we see. And yeah, it just makes you realize, damn, like, okay, so these really are the best guys. There's no one else. It's these guys. That's it. At least at those lower weight classes. Um, but yeah, I hope Patchy Mix can bounce back. I hope he can go on a solid streak, maybe get his swagger back and make his way back to the UFC. But he's gonna need some crazy victories for the UFC to give him another chance. Uh, apparently, apparently he wasn't on like the beginner contract. He was getting decent money, and if that's the case, then I understand why they cut him. You kind of have to. You can't pay a below average fighter above average pay if he's gonna be competing like that. So I get it, but yeah, hopefully Patchy Mix can make a comeback, man. I want to see him at least win a few in the UFC. I would love to see him go up against a few interesting people. Him and Pitbull, maybe. I don't fucking know. Um, but yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on that. We'll see how that goes. Uh, oh, something interesting is John Silva and the Fighting Nerds versus Mauricio Rufy. That's a pretty interesting story. Um, for those who don't know, Rufy went to train with Volkanovski for his camp. Um, sorry, for his camp coming up, and I he looked really good. He looked really, really good. I thought Fiziev was gonna kind of massacre him, truly, especially seeing how BSD kind of beat on Rufy. I just thought Fiziev was a lot better, a lot more explosive. But Rufy, this was a solid bounce back fight for Rufy. He really showed, uh, he really showed that he's still a threat. Uh, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Um, John Silva unfollowed Rufy on Instagram. Now people were making a big deal of it, this and that. Rufy was asked by Ariel, "Are you still with the Fighting Nerds?" Rufy said, "Yes, I am. I am still with the Fighting Nerds. I am, I'm just here training for Volk with a little bit." Obviously, we've had some pretty big coach team beefs in the past. We've had TJ Dillashaw, Team Alpha Male, right? It almost feels like shades of that, should I say. This is how it starts, right? You're saying, "Oh, you're still my home gym, but I'm gonna go train with these guys for a little bit. I'm gonna go train with these guys. I'm gonna go train with these guys." Until next thing you know, as McGregor said, snake in the grass, boom, you flip over. You're a city kickboxing guy now, or Volk guy. I don't know. I don't think Volk is city kickboxing specifically, but weirdly enough, after Rufy won, Kaio uploaded a video of him at like B Dubs, like, yeah, cheering for Rufy. In my opinion, the vibe, just me being a body language expert, the vibe I got from that is Kaio was unsure himself. So it's like, whatever, I'll put this out there. Again, that's just me being parasocial, body language expert, whatever. But combine that hunch with the fact that Silva unfollowed him on Instagram. Yeah, maybe we're looking too much into it, but Silva is an emotional guy, right? Wears his heart on his sleeve. I think there's an issue there. If I remember correctly, I think there was a quote by Silva. He said, Rufy has issues. He needs to go to, or I've been going to therapy every day. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a quote. John Silva says he is no longer friends with Mauricio Rufy. I'm not going to be the one to expose anything. John and Rufy doesn't exist anymore. It only existed in my head. So that is very, very interesting. I wonder what that means. Um, there's a very big theory that, yeah, Rufy didn't leave the fighting nerds or anything, but John Silva feels some sort of way because Rufy went to train with Volkanovski, and as a potential future opponent of Volkanovski, the emotional John Silva had a problem with that. And that would make sense. Hopefully, that's all it is. Honestly, I'm a fan of the fighting nerds gimmick. I wish we had more of that, quite frankly. I really wish we had more of that. Um, but like more teams, more gimmicks, things like that. Like I just like that team vibe, like our team versus your team. You could hopefully we get to a point where you can structure a whole card over it. This team versus that team. That's kind of fire. But whatever. Hopefully they don't actually split up. But this is how this stuff starts, guys. As each guy kind of starts to go higher and fly higher and higher and higher. uh, Things might start to splinter as Protest gets bigger. He might find something else. As Silva starts to go on his path to the title, he might go somewhere else. It seems like Silva is going to get the push soon, with all the promos he's been getting. Um, and right, you got Kyle. Kyle might make a jump too. I don't think Kyle will personally. I think we saw the peak of Kyle, but we got to put respect on Kyle's name, man. He started that whole gimmick. Okay, he started that, and he's a good leader. He speaks up for his guys. He put the glasses on everybody. He was really doing his job and hustling, putting the fighting nerds in front of everywhere. We got to give respect for that. That alone, at least the hustle. Um, but yeah, that's very, very interesting. That's what I think it is. I think it's just the fact that he's upset that I think he's upset that Rufy went to go train with Volkanovski and them. And yeah, hopefully that's it. We'll see. Give it a few weeks. Silva might be over it. Silva can be a little emotional, as we know. Something else that's pretty interesting is John Jones recently spoke on his potential return. He said he's facing a lot of hip pain and he has arthritis all over his hip, and his last camp was very, very painful. Uh, it's pretty interesting to hear, especially with the White House negotiations and things coming up. It makes you wonder: is this a negotiation tactic? Is who knows? Is John I don't know. I don't know. Maybe John's trying to lay groundwork for more money. Like I said, negotiation tactic. Maybe John is playing off a rejection. Maybe they told him no. I don't care. Still no, and he's playing it off. I couldn't anyways. I have arthritis. We don't really know. It's very interesting. Like I said, Dana and them said that they would have it figured out after UFC 323. I'm sure we're not going to get any announcements until March. I would guess. My guess would be on the BMF card. They'll probably drop some trailers and announcements. Um, so we'll see then. But I surely feel like the leading fight would be Justin Gaethje versus Ilya Taporia. Justin is your only American quote unquote champ if you really count the interim belt. Um, it's Justin and It's Justin and Aelia. It has to be. I don't know who else they could put on there, because I would imagine you want at least one American, like an American main event. Um, oh wow, I'm just now reading this. How did I miss that? When was this announced? Oh, this was announced yesterday. What the hell? So apparently, Almabaya pulled out of his fight against Brandon Moreno, and stepping in is Loner Kavanaugh. That is very interesting. I think Kavanaugh's gonna get fucking slaughtered. What the hell? Huh. He is not beating Brandon Moreno, dude. He just got slept by Charles Johnson, didn't he? Yeah, what the hell? No way. That's actually real. Okay, guys, I didn't know that. So I guess yeah. So Loner Kavanaugh is now set to fight Brandon Moreno in a 5-round main event on February 28th in 24 days. So in about 3 weeks. But I mean, do you guys remember him getting absolutely chin checked by Charles Johnson? His hands were to his hips when Johnson cracked his chin. Why does he think he could go in there and fight Brandon Moreno? I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit crazy. Yeah, Johnson had physical attributes that gave Kavanaugh problems that Brandon Moreno won't be able to do. But Brandon Moreno is really fucking good. So that is a massive step up for Loner Kavanaugh. Uh, he's gonna get beat up pretty bad. He's gonna probably, yeah, that is rough, man. I don't, and it's a 5 rounder. I'm assuming he's banking on going in there and knocking Moreno out or like TKOing him, kind of like Tyra. But yeah, I guess no risk, no reward, right? These are what dreams are made of. You step in on short notice, beat a former champion like that. Um, that'll really put you up there. That'll make you forget about the Charles Johnson knockout. But I'm sorry, I don't see how he wins this at all. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like speechless at this. Like I don't really have anything else to. Yeah, this is in Mexico too, dude. What the fuck? I mean, Loner's got some balls on him for sure to step up against Moreno in Mexico on short notice. But oh my god, yeah, Moreno's gonna slaughter this guy. Jesus. I mean, yeah, I mean, if I'm being real, after Loner lost to Charles Johnson, we all knew he wasn't gonna go anywhere in terms of title contention. But wow, yeah, I'm just very very surprised by that. Uh, I just didn't see that coming. But anyways, I've kind of talked about the things I wanted to talk about for the week. We do have UFC this weekend. I would like to let me look it up. Let me look up the card. Let me pull it up here. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Let me pull it up here. Um, so I would like to fight, or what the fuck, guys? I'm tripping. I would like to go over the fights that are this weekend. I don't want to fight anybody. I would get beat up pretty bad unless there's some YouTuber nerd that would like to. Misfits Boxing, if you're watching. Here, let me pull this up here. Where is it? There we go. So I kind of want to go over the main event of this card that is this weekend. We got Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Oliveira. So like I said, I'm just gonna go over the main card. I don't want to get too much into it. We got Dustin Jacoby versus Julius Walker. If I had to guess, I mean, I don't know too much about these guys other than I know Jacoby. I've slept on Jacoby a lot. I really have. Every time I pick against him, he fucking wins. So honestly, based off of that alone, I'm gonna go with Walker. I'm really blanking on Walker. I don't remember his last fight. Uh, huh. Yeah, I don't fully remember his last fight, who he fought last. But I mean, if you just look at the records, and I know Jacoby, Julius Walker is probably gonna win that. Ooh, next one we got Gene Matsumoto versus Basharat. This is a good one. Basharat. Ooh, this is actually really fucking solid. I would give it to Basharat just because I think he's gonna utilize his reach a little bit better. Um, but Matsumoto can make it really dirty. I think if he goes with leg kicks, he can really slow down Basharat's movement. Um, but yeah, I'll have to go with Basharat here. I always pick Basharat, and he's never let me down. We got the Forgotten Fighting Nerd versus Marc-Andre Barriol. I'm gonna have to go with a forgotten what? I'm gonna go with a forgotten fighting nerd, Michael Oleksiejczuk. He's a really good boxer, and honestly, he's been getting a lot better ever since he's been with the fighting nerds. Both of these guys are willing to go to a war and take a lot of damage, but Marc-Andre Barriol has taken a lot of damage in his career as is. Um, I imagine a boxer like Michael is gonna really punish him. We got Almeida versus Kanaev. This is solid. I'm gonna say Almeida. I think Almeida is gonna come in there. When Almeida is actually fighting, he's a scary individual. So I think he's gonna see all the criticism from his last fights, and I think he's gonna go out there and make an example out of Kanaev. And we're on to the co-main and main event. These are the very interesting fights. You could say Albazi versus Horiguchi. I'm gonna go with Horiguchi. Yeah, Horiguchi. He's just kind of on a run right now. I fuck with Horiguchi. Albazi can give real problems here. Albazi really can. I think his takedown defense actually and his power will be an issue, but Horiguchi, he's a veteran dude. He's gonna set everything up nicely. Albazi tends to fall for feints pretty easily, very easily. So I see Horiguchi just utilizing that, and I see an exchange going. He catches Albazi at the end of a combo. Albazi gets a little wobbled. He takes him down like a true veteran would. Doesn't go for a standing finish. He takes him down, secures the neck, and gets a submission. So I got Horiguchi via submission. I would say round 3. Now we're on to the main event. We got Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira. Oliveira has really good power, very crazy power. But I am gonna have to go with Mario Bautista. Bautista has a fucking chin on him, and that guy knows how to win. He knows how to grind shit out for a victory. Um, I see him doing the same to Oliveira. Yeah, Oliveira could lock in a submission or something, and he does have good takedown defense, but Batista is really good at mixing it up. He's really good at striking and then going for the takedown. If you're not an Umar or somebody like that, even then we saw Umar struggling. If you're not an Umar or Marab or someone, you're gonna have a lot of trouble keeping up with Mario Batista. Uh, Jack of all trades, master of none. That's who Batista is. So I still think Lock Dog still needs his quote unquote coming out party of to see who he really is, how good he can really be. I think Batista is the fight to do that. Unfortunately, I don't think he gets past Batista. Like I said, I think Batista is just better. He's a better fighter overall. He's gonna really uh, just confuse Oliveira. He's gonna throw so much at him. He's gonna be boxing him, and when Oliveira is trying to line up a slick shot, Batista's gonna go for a takedown, grind him against the cage, knee the legs. Oliveira's gonna maybe start posturing for some grappling. Batista's gonna break off and start striking again. Batista does a really good job of just mixing everything up. And like I said, if you're not an elite level guy like Umar or somebody like that, you're probably gonna struggle um, keeping up with Batista. But who knows? Who knows? Like I said, I feel like we still really need to see more from Vinicius Lockdog before we can truly guess how high his ceiling can be. But yeah, right. Him beating Phillips doesn't really do much for me. Let's see. Yeah. Well, how did he win his last fight? Decision, decision, decision. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember this one. I remember this one. I don't really remember him fighting this guy. It was in July last year. So Kyle. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I remember him fighting Kyler Phillips. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, this is obviously a very, very big step up for Lock Dog. He's gonna have to overperform than anything we've seen already. Just that alone, I'm gonna have to go with Batista. I was really hoping Batista was gonna be Umar. I'm not like a Umar hater per se. I mean, I kind of am, but like I like Umar. I like Umar. He's all right. I like that he's willing to strike. I like he talked a little bit of shit to Marab and things like that. Um, I'm a fan of guys that are willing to kind of put their ego on the line as well with stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this is a solid fight night. It's not the most exciting, uh, but I mean, there's some very solid fights here that we got to watch. I would say Almeida and Up are like absolutely you have to watch them if you want to see the future of these divisions. There's more fights that are interesting. Like I like Donchenko from The Ultimate Fighter, Bruno Brazil, right? Nurmagomedov, he's back on here. Um, Wang Kong is on here. But other than that, I mean, there's some other interesting fights. But other than that, this fight isn't really nothing to call home about. It's just a solid fight night. These top three are pretty much really what matters here. I'm very, very curious to see how Horiguchi performs. That's what I'm most excited about, I would say. Uh, let's go see what's the next card. I just kind of want to. Oh, right, right. We got Strickland Hernandez. Right. All right. I'm not gonna get too much into this because I actually got somewhere to be, so relatively short stream. But yeah, this is a solid card too. I'm very excited for this one. I'm excited to see what antics Strickland might have as time goes on, especially with with the way world politics are going. I'll just leave it like that. I'm sure this matchup of Strickland versus Hernandez will I'm sure they'll be gathering a lot of headlines, which means a lot of views for guys like me. Uh but yeah, that's probably gonna be it for today's episode, guys. I know it's nice and short or not too long, but um honestly I really didn't have much to say. I know I fucked up last weekend by not having a show during the pay-per-views, but I have one during a fight night. What the hell is up with that? Uh, but hey, it is what it is. We keep on trucking. Um, as always, if you're watching, thanks for tuning in. It really goes a long way here. Truly, we're a very small channel, so thank you, all of you. D2 time if you're so here. Thank you. That one's for you. We're gonna be live next Wednesday. I have a lot more content coming out that I didn't spend last week doing jack shit. I did start planning a lot. I'm gonna have instant reactions every Monday as a video. My show will be on Wednesday. And maybe I'll start uploading just other videos throughout the week if big topics break over the weekend or early on in the week, stuff like that, or later tonight. Who knows? Um, yeah, pretty much we're just gonna have a lot of stuff coming on this channel. So be sure to stay tuned. Make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends. Like I said, we are a very small channel. So every view, every like, every comment, every interaction goes a ridiculously long way. I will forever be grateful for that. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next Wednesday or Monday. I'll probably have a video out Monday. But as for this live show, I will see you next Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Oh man, I'm like choking up on my spit. What the hell? See, you guys have me emotional, man. That's how much I'm so grateful for you guys. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. I truly, truly do. I really like sitting here talking to you guys about fighting. Because Lord knows nobody else will sit and listen to me talk about it for an hour plus. Yeah, comment down below anything you want to see me do. Uh, maybe rank some cards, pay-per-views. That's something I plan on doing, ranking every single UFC pay-per-view, but I got a lot to do before I figure that out. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Till next time. See ya.